I am not Russell Thomas. I cannot pull off the suave, awesome look that he's got going on. I am sitting in for Russell Thomas today. It's JD Hunter here at 91.1 The Bridge for Impact, a collaboration of the United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV Fort McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. I'm joined in studio this morning by two members of a local a project that is starting out and is growing and is going to be a huge part of Fort McMurray in a lot of ways. It's going to really help develop the creative flow of Fort McMurray, if I can say that. Joined in studio right now by Chris Wells, the founder of the district, as well as Willi Whiston, who is the creative director of the district. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Awesome. So let's start with you, Chris. What brought you out to Fort McMurray? When did you move here?
Oh, wow. 2010, I was living in Yellowknife, of all places, with my father, I guess, and work dried up. And where do you go when work dries up? You come to Fort McMurray.
Right.
And, ever since then, I met my wife here, got my work here, got my family here, and now we're starting this project with the district and the after-school program. So it's going... It's long, but it's coming finally, yeah.
And we have lots that we're going to chat about with that as we continue on this morning. But first, we move over to Willi Whiston. You're a newcomer to Fort McMurray.
Yes, sir.
When did you move here?
We moved here the beginning of August 1st.
August 1st. And your big ol', I don't even remember what it's called. What's the type of vehicle that you drove up here? It's huge.
Oh, we have a big van.
Yeah, you have a big
converted camper van. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Except it dies all the time.
Yep.
I've never seen this camper van.
Oh, really? It's cool.
Not even a picture?
It's my hippie van, dream vehicle.
Okay. I see how it is.
Yep.
This wasn't really sure the appropriate name for it, but you said it, so there you go. Fantastic. So obviously, as I mentioned, Chris and Willi are both a part of something called the district. However, it took some time before it was called that. There was a lot of years before it became the district. And I know, Chris, you've been a part of it really since the beginning. So tell me a little bit about what initially set this vision forward to bring a recording studio to Fort McMurray.
Well, I can go back to when I did live in Yellowknife. Young, and as a musician, what do you want to do? You want to be famous, you want to tour. But from a young age, I always wanted a family. So I was like, how do I have a family and still fulfill my kind of need, because it is a need, to be around music, to play music. So for me, it was, well, let's do a recording studio. And so ever since about 2009, I've had the idea. When I came here and after I bought my home, I was working with my friend who lives in Vancouver. He works at studios in Vancouver. And I was going to do it in my home, convert my basement, but I ended up talking to Rick Kirshner, as everyone probably knows, and we kind of started working together on this idea about 4 years ago together, and it's been about 6 or 7 years for me, and I know 6 or 7 years from him apart from that finally now it's called the district. It had a lot of other names in the beginning, but it's coming together now, which is a long time coming, but it's very rewarding.
So what were some of the initial stages of actually starting a recording studio? There's a lot you had to do to bring something like this to a city. So what were some of the initial things from the ground that you had to do?
The first two things, I guess, are what kind of facility do you want to have? So you can get a great home-based studio and make great music. You can have a super high-end industrial studio where it's purpose-built, but that's an insane amount of money. To me, in the middle is to find somewhere where you can retrofit as a studio and bring in enough gear that you can recreate that industrial studio, but on a little bit of a smaller scale, which is where we ended up meeting. So that's why we're working with the school board and the Red Cross and all of the other people and I guess companies involved to do the district the way we're doing it, because we want to offer first-rate recording services and a recording studio experience. There's nothing like being in a recording studio when you're a musician. I mean, you got the room, you got all the gear, you get to play and try things and change things and get played back what you just played. while it's recorded on some of the best gear that you can buy, which is what we're really going for in the end.
We took a tour last week down there. I went with you down into where the studio is now. How did that happen? How did you get the studio space into the Composite High School?
I mean, I can give Rick credit for this one because the school board, as far as I understand, and as far as I've heard from Rick, that this has been something that's kind of been talked about, kind of whispers have been said, and it's been put back in the woodshed for a while. But I guess now with this full renovation of the school going on, it's a great time to build. So it kind of all came together as a culmination of everybody's efforts, kind of now. So that's how we're getting here. And it's a fantastic thing that's happening, especially for the community and the kids that will be involved in the after-school program, and just everything we'll be able to provide. This community, and I guess Northern Canada in general, Northern Alberta, has been missing something like this because there's a lot of talented people here. Kind of blows my mind. Every time I go to an open mic night, there's like 10 people there that are just phenomenal, and nobody knows. They don't really have a place to showcase their talent.
And that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So the District Recording Studio, for those of you who don't know, is currently inside the Composite High School.
Yeah.
There's a real nice little space in there. You're renovating. You're getting ready for this studio to come.
Yeah, we are. The studio itself is going to have a designated control room, soundproof walls, 2 isolation booths, and a huge live room. I think, what do you think the ceilings are in there? 20 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
And it's probably about 3,000 square feet of floor space in there in the live room. So Willi's just smiling thinking about it. But we're gonna be able to recreate a huge studio sound in there. We're gonna have all analog gear. So what that means is that now a lot of things are moving inside the computer, but you kind of lose some of the warmth from the sound. So we're doing our best to get the funding to be able to buy the gear that will recreate the artist's sound, because every artist has a sound, as accurately as possible, and to provide the community and the children with knowledge of, if they do decide they want to go into recording arts or film editing or whatever, that they will have the basic skills in working in a studio like this to lean on, and they'll be a step ahead in their future.
Now, there was a really cool thing that just happened back in November that we're going to talk about in just a couple of minutes, and it was really a piece to kind of launch the district in Fort McMurray, and it was also a piece to really launch a cool project that the district was a part of, and we're going to talk about that coming up after the break. This is Impact, a collaboration of the United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV Fort McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. I'm JD Hunter, sitting in today for Russell Thomas. Thomas today on Impact here on 91.1 The Bridge, a collaboration of the United Way, Fuse Social, and Shaw TV Fort McMurray. Joined in the studio right now by Chris Wells, founder of the District Recording Studio, and Willi Whiston, the creative director of the District Recording Studio. We haven't heard a whole lot from you yet, Willi, but we want to hear from you a little bit now. Back on November the 10th was a really exciting event that I myself got to be a part of, Chris here was a part of, as well as a whole range of youth. It was also partnered with an organization called Resilience by Design, who started this really cool project. I want you to just tell me all about that.
Okay, so the live event was a big culmination of a big recording project we've been working on with Royal Roads University and Resilience by Design called #Youth Voices Wood Buffalo. And this was a platform for youth to tell their stories and voice their concerns to the community in song. With original songs, we helped them record them all. And then so November 10th was a big live event where they got to perform them live in front of their peers and their friends and their family. It was a great event. We had some performers as well as the ones we recorded. Had about 160 people there. Don Scott came and actually we saw right in front of us, Don Scott made a commitment to fix some of these issues that these youth were talking about right at the event. So that was really good. And just to see, a lot of these youth, it was the first time they've ever performed live. To see the smiles on their faces, the difference it made in their lives. And I've heard the behind the scenes stories of how this has made made. You know, it's like I've maybe met these kids 3 times, you know, over the course of this project, but their lives are actually drastically different and for the better, which is awesome.
Really? Tell me more about that. How is it drastically different for a couple of these kids?
Well, and for one kid who sticks out, we helped him write a rap, and he's a 17-year-old kid. He's spent a year in jail, had some troubles with school, attendance, whatever, that kind of stuff. He was interested in rapping, so we helped him write his first ever rap. He recorded in the studio for the first time, performed live for the first time, and talking to his, you know, the people he works with, you know, at the Friendship Center downtown, and you know, his parole officer says that, you know, this is the best he's ever been. He's going to school, he's staying out of trouble. You can tell a notable difference in his behavior, you know, and then how he's feeling, like as a person, he's a better person now. He has something. He has a purpose. He has confidence that his skill set is something he can, you know, work with in his life. So.
And what would you equate as the main reason for why he's doing so much better with this project? Why did this project help him go down a better path?
I think it gives a sense of purpose, you know, and to be validated that, hey, I have this skill set and that I have a story that is worth telling and I can tell it in a really awesome way, and that people want to listen. People have feedback. It's like people are actually care about this. And then, I mean, beyond that, just like the power of music, like, you know, the creative power. We all have this, you know, creative genius inside of us, and to be able to exercise that and, you know, communicate our life story in a creative way, I mean, that has power all on its own.
There was it 7 or 8 youth that performed? How many youth were there that performed?
We had over 10.
Oh, was it over 10?
Youth perform.
Yeah.
And then 8 of them were from our project. Yeah.
And it was a really, really cool night. As I mentioned, Chris was also a part of it. Him and I had kind of a fun part where you did a drum solo to a song that I was kind of spinning and mixing. And what was really cool was the ability to really express oneself through art. I think that's the whole purpose behind all this, is just to be able to express yourself and to be able to create something. Like the sweaters we wore the night of. Born to create is what they say. What do you think that means to you, born to create?
Well, for me, there's this misconception that people are not creative. It is true that we're not all artists. Being an artist takes a bit of mastery and practice, and so that's an intimidating thing. But creativity is completely different. We all create. You know, maybe we don't paint, but we create friendship. We create community. We create, you know, kindness, and then we all have this creative ability to create, you know, art as well, and it's not difficult. We're born with it. It's part of human expression. It's something inside of all of us, and it's something we need to break past. People are scared to create things, and they don't need to be.
Interesting. Now, for you yourself, Willi, that night you were a part of it with your wife. You and your wife performed as well.
Indeed.
So what's it like to have someone like Genevieve, your wife, who also is creative, to help you push along in a project like this?
Oh, man. Genevieve is a creative genius. The song we wrote together, I took a week writing the first verse, and then I was like, hey, you know, I wouldn't mind if you helped me with this song. I could use some help. I'm kind of stuck. And she wrote the rest of it in one afternoon. Yeah, it's amazing. It's inspiring to watch her creative process. And, you know, there's some people that just like, I don't know, it just works, you know. So, yeah, it's amazing to work with her in my life, you know, work on creative projects, to write songs together. We spent a lot of time in college doing that together. It's kind of what I guess we built some of our relationship on. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
So this was definitely an exciting project. Again, we saw so many youth and so many people came out. You mentioned already Don Scott, Councillor Jeff Peddle were out that night. Russell Thomas was there, who normally hosts this show, and his son Ben was one of the many people who performed that evening. He was incredibly talented.
Oh, so good.
Like, incredibly talented. My goodness, could he play that guitar? It was pretty cool.
He has a skill set of someone much older. Much older. I couldn't take my eyes off it. And just the way he used the guitar, it was just a tool for him to play what he was thinking. Mm-hmm. That's true mastery, in my opinion, and true creativity. It was something to behold for sure.
So this project and the district and this collaboration with hashtag Youth Voices WB has been an opportunity to really bring some of that out of the youth and to really allow them to express themselves. Of course, this campaign that you partnered with hashtag Youth Voices Wood Buffalo kind of came out of the wildfire, out of a response to the wildfire. So how have you seen that as a project develop with the district? How is that partnership and kind of developing what you would do together?
Yeah, I mean, we've basically partnered with them to tell these kids stories, and it's almost surprising. Like, the kids didn't always tell exactly before and after wildfire, but even as they told behind the scenes, behind their song, what did this mean? It's like, oh, okay, these are things that have been shaped by their experience in the wildfire. This is why they're strong, or this is why they're pushing through. This is maybe now fears they have, and this is how they're dealing with them. And very real concerns that have a big, wide impact on the community. So it's been really good to work with Youth Voices Wood Buffalo to see other, through photography, through other art forms as well, and this all came together to form this picture of what youth care about and to give youth a voice in our community.
It's definitely been an exciting opportunity to see all these kids really put something creative out, and it's not the end to it. It's not over. It's not done as far as allowing kids to really express themselves creatively. So if there was a kid who had something in their heart, they weren't sure how to put it on paper, they weren't sure how to demonstrate it, how can they do that?
Well, I mean, we're going to have a bunch more live events coming up. We got one coming up at the end of January. And then in the new year here, the after-school programs we're going to setting up. Twice a week we'll have different programs in songwriting, dance, whatever, available to students. And then they should just check us out, like on Facebook, the District Recording Studio. Message me. You can visit our website, thedistrictstudio.ca. Get connected somehow, because we have all sorts of musicians, songwriting coaches, like people. We want to work. We want to work with youth in this city to help them express their voice, and we have opportunities already lined up to put them in front of people to get their songs out there. And so we need their voice, we need their song. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the way to do it.
So we've talked about the past, we've talked about what's brought us up to this point. We're going to look towards the future, we're going to look towards what's coming, and how you two are helping shape what's coming with the District Recording Studio here in Wood Buffalo. But we're going to take a quick break. I'm JD Hunter, sitting in today for Russell Thomas on Impact, a collaboration of the United Way of Fort McMurray, Fuse Social, Shaw TV for McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. Welcome back to Impact here on 91.1 The Bridge. JD Hunter here, sitting in for Russell Thomas on this Tuesday morning, the first Impact of December here in 2017. Impact is a collaboration of the United Way for McMurray, Fuse Social, Shaw TV for McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge. Chatting this morning with Chris Wells and Willi Whiston, both here with the District Recording Studio, and we've talked about what's brought us up to this point here in December 2017, and now we're looking forward a little bit with what this recording studio is going to be, what it's going to allow to happen for youth and for other people in the community, and of course the different events that are going to come up with it as well. Now, I know that there's a bit of a timeline for the new year-ish at some point.
Ish, yes.
It's been a little interesting with this construction project with Composite High School, because things have maybe taken a little longer than initially expected.
Yeah.
Or anticipated.
Yeah, you can't blame them. The building's old, the construction's old. Every time you take something down, usually there's an issue with something that they got to fix. But I mean, it's better that they do everything now and get everything done right and everything done safe than us have to upend a studio once we're kind of running, because it takes a long time to wire all that gear together.
Right. Yeah. You want it to be done before you get it there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So a little wait for a long gain is okay with me. So we're thinking, first quarter 2017. That's kind of a good estimate right now. It's a bit of a vague estimate, but it's a good estimate. You have a bunch of brand new equipment on order coming up to Fort McMurray for this recording studio. It's going to look pretty sweet in there. Yeah, I mean, I could geek out for about an hour on the gear, but yeah, like I said, we're going to have all analog gear, which means outboard, so transistors, tubes, wire, solder. It's going to sound like a classic studio, but we're going to be able to get modern results. And that's the idea of how I put the gear list together, right?
And what made you interested in this? Like, why are you so interested in making this recording studio be as awesome as possible?
Well, like I said before, I mean, first of all, it's from a, I guess it's just built into me. If you're going to do something, do it right. And even if it's a little bit harder on the pocketbook, at the end of the day, when you see a smile on someone's face, when you hand them their record and they're like, wow, this is great, this is awesome, that's worth it. To getting a kid to touch faders on a mixing console on a board, or instead of just clicking a mouse on a computer, so they can really kind of feel it and understand what's going on, that's worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a bunch of different factors that will be at play with this. There's going to be all kinds of production elements to it. I know there's going to be video, there's going to be audio. Talk a little bit about what's coming.
Want to take her, Willi?
Yeah, I mean, so besides the recording studio portion itself, we also are going to have a great video post-production studio. We're going to be able to do music videos, live in studio, different stuff like that, and I mean, yeah, give the whole studio experience, and then I mean beyond that too. I think there's hopes for a live production company, so we can, especially these live events that we're doing, we can effectively take these out on the road, get kids stories and voices further and further. Let them tell their stories. After you've recorded that EP or that song, that means something to you. It's time to take it out and show it to people. So that's all part of the long-term plan.
Totally, and it's an exciting long-term plan. There's a lot of elements that are at play with this recording studio. There's a lot to come, and I know there's a lot of excitement about it too. You just want it to be here. You just want to be able to do stuff in it. And as far as people who will be able to access it, who will be able to access it, and how is that all going to work?
Anybody and everybody. We're going to have set times during the week for especially school kids to come by, and we're going to be able to provide vocal lessons, drum lessons, guitar lessons, intro to recording, intro to mixing, things like that along the way. Provide those services for kids, and then any band or person, singer-songwriter who wants to record an album, we'll have time set aside for that as well, obviously. And we'll be able to provide studio musicians songwriting help, anything that they need, pre-production. So again, arranging a song to post-production to mixing it and mastering it even and putting it out there. So we're going to pretty much be a full-serve stop and shop, ready to go for anyone who wants to make music or learn about how to make music. Mm-hmm.
So I guess one thing that I'm curious about then as we close out the show, we still have a couple minutes here, but why is music or why is art so important to a community? Why do we need this recording studio in Fort McMurray?
I feel like Willi said it best when he was talking about why this changed the kids' lives so much. I feel there really needs to be more of an emphasis put on art, because that is a great way to find your identity. It's especially as a kid when you feel lost. If you have this creative energy inside of you and you have nowhere to bring it out, that's hard. Not every child wants to play sports. Not every child wants to, get into a trade. Some people want to pursue the arts. And if that's available to them, especially as a means of expression, then it goes a long way. And for adults too. I mean, I know if I go too long without playing my guitar or playing my drum kit, I get a little itchy. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to provide that for people in the community where it's needed is, I think, fundamental for any community to have some type of service like this.
And do you think that following the wildfire, the arts have shifted in the community and what we're going to see come through the studio? Do you think that impacted what we're going to see come through the studio?
I mean, I think so. What do you think, Willi?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we saw it in the songs the youth, wrote for our last recording project. There's a resilience that comes out of it, and a changed perspective that makes a big difference. I mean, there's stories that are valuable, and they need to be told now, and music is one of the best ways to tell them.
I think that's a great way to wrap up for today with Willi Whiston, the creative director, and Chris Wells, the founder of The District, and a very exciting recording studio. For someone who wants to find more information about The District, where can they go?
Well, you can check out the District Recording Studio on Facebook, thedistrictstudio.ca. Shaw TV, also all the live performances from our live event. You can see them on YouTube there. Lots of different ways to get connected.
Thanks so much for joining this morning, Willi Whiston and Chris Wells, to talk about the District Recording Studio. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, JD.
Thanks.
Impact is a awesome collaboration between very awesome community organizations. We have the United Way for McMurray, Fuse Social, Shaw TV for McMurray, and 91.1 The Bridge.